Shabbat Shalom. So some of you might know, but recently I heard the shocking and sad news that my Aunt Barbara had unexpectedly passed away. I hopped on a plane to attend her funeral in Tampa, Florida. And during my time in Tampa, I learned a great deal about Barbara that I never knew, including the song that she and my Uncle Bo had shared as their song. For my uncle, and now for me, I will always remember my Aunt Barbara anytime I hear this particular song. On this Shabbat, Shabbat Zachor, we're commanded to remember what Amalek did to us on our departure from Egypt. This reading prepares us for the reading of the Megillah, when we remember Haman, a descendant of Amalek, and we drowned out his name with the sound of grogers. We're often called to remember in the Torah, remembering the Exodus from Egypt, remembering Shabbat, and today remembering Amalek. Memories allow us to relive moments in our past and to bring those memories forward and to let them shape our future. This month, we celebrate and we explore music in many different ways as part of Music Month. We had the opportunity to learn about famous Jewish composers, George Gershwin and Aaron Copland, with our guest lecturer, Jonathan Polevsky. And we'll have the opportunity to celebrate Purim with the music of the band Queen, and to experience the music of the Seth Keibel Quartet. Today, I would like to look at music a little bit differently. I would like to focus on music as a vessel for holding our memories, as a way to relive and to retell our stories. So many of you might know this song. Please sing it with me if you do. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. But you may not have thought, or you may not have thought recently, about when and where you first heard that song. A few months ago, I was cleaning out my closet to donate some clothes that I no longer wear. While cleaning, I came across a child's maroon sweatshirt with a white logo of a lion on it and the words Congregation Brit Shalom. And I've talked about this sweatshirt before, so you might remember it. I had come across it many times, and each time I decided not to donate it, even though I was no longer able to wear it. The last time, in fact, that I wore this sweatshirt was in 1992 for our synagogue's big concert with guest cantor from Israel, Naftali Hirschtick. Our cantor rehearsed with us for many, many hours, teaching us the songs of our Jerusalem medley, including that Oseh Shalom by Nurit Hirsch. On the day of our concert, I was so excited I could hardly contain myself. I proudly sang my solo and waved to my parents from the stage, even though I knew I was not supposed to do that. And my mom later told me that even then, she knew one day I would be a cantor. You might also know this song, so please feel free to sing it with me. Ozi וזמרת יד Vayehi li Yeshua Ozi Vezimradia Vayehi li Yeshua Ozi Vezimradia Vayehi li Yeshua Ozi Vezimradia Vayehi li Yeshua. This is another one of those melodies that I feel like I always knew, and maybe you feel that way too. But I did learn it at a certain moment in my life. Although my mom may have known early on that I was called to be a cantor, the path of actually becoming one is not that simple. For me, it involved 5 years of study at the Jewish Theological Seminary, including 1 year of study in Israel, in Jerusalem. During my year of study in Israel, I became part of a group called Neshot HaKotel, the Women of the Wall. And they've been in the news recently a lot lately as well. Women of the Wall was formed in reaction to events that took place in December of 1988 at the First International Congress of Jewish Feminists in Jerusalem. On the last day of that conference, about 70 of the women from the group asked to hold a prayer to the welfare of the state of Israel at the Western Wall, a prayer service that would include reading the Torah. The prayer went smoothly until the moment of the Torah reading, when ultra-Orthodox men and women tried to disrupt the service by screaming and cursing and threatening and acts of physical violence. The prayer service and reading of the Torah was not interrupted by the late Rabbi Yehuda Getz, who was then the rabbi of the Kotel. In fact, one of the women who happened to stand nearby to the rabbi heard him say, "Let them continue their service, as it is according to halakha, it's according to Jewish law." Refusing to accept that women could not pray freely at the Western Wall, a group of Jerusalemite women were inspired to commit to the custom of praying publicly at the Western Wall every month for Rosh Chodesh. That group eventually became the Women of the Wall, and they continued to pray at the beginning of each month. I prayed several times with Women of the Wall when I lived in Israel. At that time, I was one of the few women in the group who had a custom of wearing tefillin, and I was heavily photographed while doing so. In 2014, the image that many people saw of the Women of the Wall in newspaper articles and online was a picture of me putting on my tefillin. However, my memories of Women of the Wall are quite different. Before each monthly service, the board members and the prayer leaders of Women of the Wall would meet together at Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem to make a plan for how the service should run. The group could be quite large at any given month, and no amplification is permitted at the Kotel itself. So how did we communicate with each other? We used a system of human microphones to communicate and sing as one big group. The leaders, so all the people in that meeting, including myself, would position ourselves equally throughout the group, and we would act as a microphone, singing what we heard from behind us, forward to the people who were standing ahead of us. For those who have never been to Women of the Wall, has anybody been there? A couple of people? Yeah. So for those that have not been there, the prayer service is rarely quiet or calm. Our prayer was constantly interrupted by shouting, by cursing, by things being thrown at us. And when the shouts became too disruptive, we would sing that song, Ozi, as a big group until the crowd calmed itself down. This song became our anthem, our form of peaceful protest. But in fact, we were not the only people there engaged in protest. The most visible part of the Western Wall is divided into two main sections, one section for men and another section for women. Many ultra-Orthodox groups in Israel don't support women's right to pray openly at the wall, and they arrange for schoolgirls from the local Orthodox schools to be bussed in on days when the women of the wall is scheduled to meet. These girls are used to fill up space on the side of the wall, preventing the women of the wall from getting anywhere close to the kotel itself. The unanticipated result of this tactic is that these girls get a front row seat to progressive, liberal, feminist Judaism in Israel. So while the outside world saw photos of us, I found myself absorbed with these girls and wondering what was happening as they saw us. What were they thinking of this moment? What was going on? This one you might not know. Potea umaspia, potea umaspia, potea et yadecha umaspia lechol chai ratzon. פותח את ידך ומשביע לכל חי רצון. Last week, I attended the first Nachum Goldman Fellowship in the United States since the fellowship's creation in 1987. Nachum Goldman Fellowships are unique week-long seminars for emerging Jewish leaders between the ages of 25 and 40 worldwide. The fellowship brings together Jews of vastly different religious and political affiliations and exposes them to the highest level of Jewish learning and to the challenges that face Jewish communities around the world. The fellowship was held this year in the United States, specifically in reaction to the events of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. In my application to the fellowship, I wrote about what I believe is one of the biggest threats to the modern Jewish community, the threat of apathy. I wrote about how many of my Jewish peers didn't belong to synagogues, were not married to Jewish partners, and felt completely disconnected from a traditional synagogue service. I also wrote about the non-traditional ideas that we've been incorporating here at Beth Israel, like Namaste and Nigunim, a fusion of movement, meditation, and chant based on our Jewish liturgy. I was thrilled to be selected for the fellowship and offered to lead prayer services during the conference at the Pearlstone Retreat Center right here in Baltimore. The director of the program told me they'd never offered an egalitarian service at the fellowship before. The participants come from very diverse backgrounds, Orthodox, feminist, partnership minyan, conservative, reform, unaffiliated, and they had never offered an egalitarian service, nor a service led by a female shlichat tzibor. But they were more than happy to have me offer an alternative. I led one evening session, an abbreviated version of Namaste in Nigunim, where I taught many of the chants we've been singing here, including that Poteach et Yadecha. And in the morning, I led a traditional Shacharit service. I received lots of positive feedback and was encouraged to be part of the next fellowship in Australia in 2021. Philosopher and essayist George Santayana is said to have coined the phrase, "Those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it." In the words of the late Aretha Franklin, music does things for a lot of people. It's transporting for sure. It can take you right back, years back, to the very moment that certain things happened in your life. As we celebrate both Music Month and Purim, I think about music as more than just lyrics and a melody. I encourage you to think about music as a way to relive, to remember, and to reshape all that the future has to bring. Shabbat Shalom.
Yishar kochech. I'd like to take that just one step further. If you would be willing to share, having experienced some of the Cantor stories about specific, whether pieces of the liturgy or popular music that had an influence on her life, both past and present, we would love to hear your stories. Which pieces of prayer, which music from youth groups bring you back to a different place or time or remind you of an important value or something in your life. And then we would ask for you to email them to the Cantor, to me, so that we can find a way to share these stories around the meaning that all of us have with the music in our lives. We can